Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. So we've got some more drag races for you today. We do have a kind of a scientific basis for it. So what we're going to be doing is, once we've finished documenting all of the aircraft that we're in the middle of at the moment, we're going to be doing a series on dogfighting and air combat maneuvers. Part of that is assessing the different aircraft's attributes. And now one of the most important attributes for an aircraft to have to be a good dogfighter and ACM, we've decided, is acceleration. And the good thing about acceleration is it's super easy to measure. So we're just going to have a drag race, 0 to 600 miles per hour over, let me show you the course. We start here. That's 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles. In reality, because these are stripped down versions of the two planes ready for racing, it's probably going to be more like 700 miles an hour, we think. But we'll see what happens. Regards fuel, we've taken the absolute bare amount that we've calculated we'll need to get to 6 miles, and after that we should simultaneously run out of gas. That's the fairest way we can do it to negate fuel load. We're aware this isn't particularly scientific. Obviously, in reality, you wouldn't have these stripped down versions with low fuel and no weapons and, you know, stuff like that. But it's going to be interesting. Oh, and also I should say that you wouldn't be accelerating from 0 knots, obviously, in reality. But this is a cool, sexy way of doing it. So we're just going to do it. And we think it's going to be within kind of plus or minus 10% kind of accuracy, I'd say. So yeah, so what we're going to do, Shermaine, is we're going to stick low, obviously, so we can keep an eye on each other. What we're going to do is hold wheel brake on. We're going to spool to the maximum we can spool to without creeping, or just a tiny bit of creep, you know, a few feet isn't going to bother much. And then I'm going to go do a 3, 2, 1, go, and on go, that's straight to gate and wheels off, simple as that. Are you ready?
Wait, one, just need to make sure my nose wheel does not the other.
I'm going to be a bit wobbly. The Mig-29 model isn't quite finished yet, and so I'm going to be a little bit up and down, so just ignore me and fly your own flight, basically.
Ready?
Right. And remember, gear up as soon as you think you're safe to put gear up. Brakes on. Spool to what you think you hold. Don't rush it. So let's just find that biting point.
I think I'm ready.
Hang on, I'm still finding mine. Okay, I'm on it. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, this is good. No, you don't, Sherman. No, you don't, Sherman. Don't you dare.
And there goes a wheel.
Come on, baby. We got this. Ah, you mother. You're so slippery.
See, this is the difference between the F-15 and the MiG and the SU. The MiGs have more aerodynamic bodies designed for better turning. The F-15 is just designed to go in a straight line.
I've got thrust-to-weight ratio on the other Sherman. I've got thrust-to-weight ratio.
Yes, but you also have a fuck ton of drag.
Roger. Yes, I'm coming back. 6 miles. Oh, come on. Oh, I almost got you, Sherman. I almost got you. So that is, woohoo! That was an amazing race. I was almost catching up. So we need to discuss what that actually means, assuming that the models are accurate in a minute, but roger. Okay, so back on the ground. We're just defueling now so we can get the aircraft weights. So the Mig-29 has a better power to weight ratio. I've forgotten off the top of my head what it is, but it is better than an F-15. But regards drag to thrust, we think this Mig-29 may have more drag to thrust. It'd be interesting if someone could let us know the drag coefficient of a stripped Mig-29A and a F-15C. That'd be interesting. Now, as for the actual race, it went the opposite way I thought it was going to go. The F-15 had it at the beginning, but the Mig-29 was coming back at the end, which is weird because aerodynamics tend to have a more of a effect, I find, when the faster you're going. So that was interesting. You could argue how accurately are these planes modelled. I don't know, but we have to just guess that they're modelled accurately for that. So I think that's going to have some interesting discussion points, and you can start putting your discussion points forward in the chat of this video, and we'll respond to it, what you think regarding these two aircraft matching each other, regarding their drag coefficient, their weight, which we're about to find, and their wet thrust. Dry thrust. Right, so I have defueled now. Let me look at my dry weight. Ah, no, that's interesting. So Sherman's F-15 dry is just over £30,000. The Mig-29A is just over £25,000. I thought I was a lot lighter than that in this airplane, I must admit. So that's an interesting, that must have had some bearing on it too. And maybe that's why, at the beginning, where the weight was more important, I was struggling. So that's an interesting thing. Also, how fast we went. I was registering 1,500 clicks per hour indicated airspeed, which is essentially the same as ground or true speed because we were essentially on the ground. That is the same as 809 knots, which is Mach 1.2-ish, something like that. Between Mach 1.2, 1.3, someone may correct me there, and about 930 miles per hour. So it is incredibly fast, and I think that is accurate in our ACM flight modeling. So acceleration is useful when you're running away, and you're going to run away up to about Mach 0.2, Mach 0.3 if you're relatively clean. So I think that's relatively useful stuff. Anyway, we will end the video there. What we're going to do now is a Hawk versus an F5. Yes, I know that sounds weird, and we're not going to run them up to max speed, obviously, because an F5 is a supersonic fighter and the Hawk isn't, but we're going to run them up to about 400 knots, about 3 miles, something like that, because we still think it's an interesting flight. So stand by, we'll be back in a second.
I think I might have rolled a little too far forward.
I'll sort that out.
Although...
Right, so we're not going to do a full 600 mile an hour test, obviously. We're going to do a 400 knot indicated test. I think for these two planes, if they're in a dogfight, they're going to get up to about 400 knots-ish. I think it's a more relevant third-gen kind of jet speed. And I think that'll be interesting if these two are in a fight. So, Charmaine, you won't be able to go out. Can you hold your wheel brakes with afterburner on? I know you've got pretty measly afterburners.
No.
You're going to have to stick at mil power then. I can go full power and hold because I'm elite. Let's look at our dry weight so we don't have to come back now. I've got a weight with 18% gas, which is pretty stripped down. I've got 7,400 pounds. What's your weight with 20% gas?
20% gas, I have 11,000 pounds.
So that's a good 30...
Just under 12,000 actually.
40%, 45% more than me. So someone on the internet, someone clever, can look up the drag coefficients and the max engine thrusts. That will give us some thrust to weight ratios to talk about. Now I'm expecting me to get a better start due to, when we're going low speed, it's more about weight and power than it is about aerodynamics, because aerodynamics go up the square of the speed, obviously. And then later on, when we're getting faster, your aerodynamics are going to come into gear, and your weight is going to be less of a hindrance. Okay, so as soon as you're rolling, kind of veer off to the left, because I'm going to be being all over the place, because this is a Hawk, and I have no control with where I go, basically. Right, so start finding your biting point. It'll probably be mil power for you. With brakes on, I'm spooling up now. I think I can hold full gas, full power.
Biting.
Can I bring in my SU-25?
In a minute. 3, 2, 1, go. Come on, baby. I'm drifting left a little bit. Rudder authority. I'm good. No, give me strength, Lord Sherman. Where are you going? I swear I was faster. Right, I can still get this. We can get this, guys. Cups up. Okay.
Going up.
Okay.
Yeah, I've activated my nose wheel steering. That jerked me a little.
Oops, went up a bit too high. Let's use some gravity.
400 knots.
400 knots before 2 miles. That F5 though. Alright, well, I guess that answers that, doesn't it?
Well, when it's heavily loaded, yes, but this thing seems to take up about a third of its weight in fuel.
Yeah, well, it's the sign of a good fighter. Right, okay, obviously the Hawk is nothing compared to that, so that's the end of that. Right, let's go and get a Harrier in the F5. Time for me to get my payback, Sherman. Hello and welcome back. So, our third and final race of the day regards ACM testing acceleration. So, we've got the AV8B here, the F-5E and the SU-25 non-T version. So first of all, they're stripped down fighters with no weapons, with all with 20% gas or thereabouts. We talked about that. Regards speed, obviously the F-5 supersonic. So we're just going to go up to 450 knots indicated. The Harrier can do about 500-ish, I think, or a bit more, and I think the same with the Frogfoot. If you think the Frogfoot's out of place, you may be right, but in the mission last night, I was running away at 500 knots, and coffee and a frog foot almost caught me up, so maybe it is a good thing to test after all. I think the Harrier's going to win because its power to weight is just unbelievable compared to either of those two over there. Let's do a weight test, guys, with the gas amount, 20% gas. I've got 16,000 pounds, just over. That is light.
Just under 12,000.
Just under 12,000.
Just over 20,000.
20,000, you heavy bastard. Right, so if anyone clever wants to compare those weights with the drag coefficients and the max thrust output, that would be useful. The only thing is to talk about the thrust on the Harrier. It's a bit complicated. You can use extra combat thrust. I'm not going to be using that because personally I wouldn't use that in a dogfight because I don't understand it well enough. Question mark, maybe that's the wrong thing to do, I don't know, but I would just use normal gas. I'm going to turn H2O on. No, I'm not going to turn H2O on because I wouldn't have time to do that in a dogfight. Let's try and make this as realistic as possible. Regards how much gas I'm going to use, you can rev this thing up to about 110%, I think, thereabouts, of RPM, but you'd only use that, I think, for a one-off, like a carrier takeoff, so really, maximum would be 100% in a dogfight. So I'm going to stick to 100%, or very close to that. I personally wouldn't try using any more for fear of burning out my engine. Again, you can discuss that. I'm not an expert, but that's what I would do. Right, so guys, I'll ask you to spool up to what you can hold. Make sure you're not creeping. If you creep, then we'll just cancel and try again. Then I'll give a 3, 2, 1, go, and on go, we will be going. Right, so try and find your biting point and stand by. Try not to use your flaps. I'm not using my flaps for this. It will just slow you down, and gear up as soon as we can. When we're in the air, stay as low as you can. Just find your biting point. It's about 70% in the Harrier. Right. Let me know when you found your point.
Ready.
Fuck, I'm sorry, I slid forward a tiny bit. I think we're going to excuse that.
Fine, you're the furthest back anyway.
Roger. Okay, guys. 3, 2, 1, go. Come on, Pegasus. Come on, Pegasus.
Just look at that acceleration.
Come on, look at the acceleration, though. I'm only 100%.
It takes.
Don't worry about my broken gear. We're not interested in that. Don't gain too much. Trim. Trim.
Guns, guns, guns.
Trim. I don't dare look back. Yeah, I can hear you, Sherman. I can hear you.
450.
450. Who won? Was it me?
Technically, I reached 450 first, but you're still ahead of me. In fact, you're still leading.
Yeah,
and at about 600 knots, I was only able to catch you.
Right. Hey, I'm impressed. Harrier. Now, how realistic is that? I don't know, but the Harrier is extremely potent acceleration. We do know that. So boffins in the comment section, start discussing the accuracy of that, and I'll leave it to you guys. Okay, I think we've wrapped up everything here. Thanks for racing, and we'll see you later.